Hey guys, it's Nasha and I am back with another tutorial video. I feel like I have been on a tutorial grind, which is a good thing because one of my goals this year is to make a lot more tutorial videos. Anyway, today I'm going to show you how I designed and coded my portfolio website. I feel like this would make a really interesting project for anyone wanting to kind of dip their toe into Figma, HTML, CSS, and like a teeny tiny bit of JavaScript as well. I put out the timestamps of each part of the tutorial in the description. If you want to just skip to a certain part, you're welcome to. Again, the template goes on my GitHub if you just want to grab that or look at that as you follow along this video. Let's get started. Before we jump in, I just want to quickly mention that my Figma design will mainly serve as like a rough draft of what I want my design to look like. So I'm not going pixel perfect for responsive design, and this is because I'm coding my website myself, so I can just do the tweaking and stuff once I get to code. That being said, this is not the best design practice, so if you're designing and someone else is developing your site for you, then make sure your design is pixel perfect and responsive so they know what they're doing. But yeah, I just want to put that out there. I'll see you in Figma. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a desktop frame and then just name it portfolio. Then I'm going to go ahead and add a header. I want this to be a little bigger, so maybe like 24 pixel. And then I am going to change the font. And I'm just going to center align it. Then I'm going to add a little body paragraph. This is just going to be a placeholder for now. And then I want another little paragraph down here as well. This will probably be where some of my feature work will go. So something like that. So now I have my header, my body paragraph, and then another body paragraph. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select all of them, right click, and then add auto layout, and then I'm just going to name this header. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to add like a divider line. So it to be a little lighter, so maybe like gray, and then maybe a little thinner, something like that. I'm just going to name this divider, and then I am going to make a section where my projects are going to go. So I'm going to start with a project name. Make this a little bigger and then maybe bold it. Also would like to add a project type as well. I want this to be on a smaller side, kind of like a tag. So I'm going to make it a little lighter. Here we go. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my project name, my project type, again right click, and then add auto layout. And then I am going to add another body paragraph right here for my project description. I'm just going to make it a little shorter. There we go. Then I would like to add like a little image section that features what my project looks like. Eventually I think I'll make them a video, but for now I'm just going to do like a placeholder image of what that might look like. So I already prepped that, so I'm just gonna go ahead and paste it. So this is kind of what I'm aiming for, so I'm just gonna go ahead and then again select all of these, right click, and then add auto layout. I'm just gonna adjust this number a little bit, and that looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna rename this to project and then add a little bit more spacing at the bottom, so maybe something like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rearrange everything in the order that I want, and then again select everything, right click, and then add auto layout. Where is it? Add auto layout. And there we go. Now I can adjust the size of this and then also like the alignment of everything. I am going to make this fill. Yes, correct. Fill. This looks good. And now I would like to see what it will look like with multiple projects, so I'm just gonna go ahead and then just copy and paste this, and then let's try it with a different image, and that looks pretty good. So this is pretty much the structure that I am going to try to go for my homepage. It's pretty simple, but again, my project's already pretty colorful and shiny, so I don't want anything to clash. Let me just adjust the spacing right here a little bit. And I think we are good to go for our design, so I am just going to go ahead and then get started in VS Code. Alright guys, I have my VS Code open. Let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is just open the folder that I would like to work in. I already made my folder, so I'm just going to click open. Then I'm just going to go ahead and create all the files that we need. You are welcome to connect to GitHub or GitLab as well if you want to do version control. And now we are going to start in index.html. I'm just going to start with a simple HTML template. I just reuse this template whenever I'm making a new web page. So then I'm just going to add my page title, Nashalari. Now in order to see my web page, I can do it multiple ways. I can go to terminal, new terminal, and then just run my localhost. Or if that was a little too complicated for your liking, another way is to just open your project folder and then click on index.html. This should open index.html in your browser, like that. So let's get started with our HTML. The first thing I'm just going to do is I'm just going to make a div class of a container, and this is going to be the equivalence of this one right here. Then I'm just going to go ahead and then add this h1 header right here. Save, and then if I refresh this, I should see my header. There we go. Then I'm just going to add like an intro class, which is basically going to be these information right here. So let's make another div block, intro, and then in here I would like to add my body paragraph, which are these two right here. I did take some time to write out my body paragraph, so I am just going to go ahead and copy and paste that. Right, so now if I save this and refresh this, I should see my body paragraph. See, there we go. Then I would like to add another div block for this one right here, which is going to be where I write about my feature work. So I'm just going to go ahead and make another div block. This is going to be called feature. And then again, add a body paragraph. Again, I already wrote out the content for this, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste that. Also, just in case you're wondering, this strong tag right here is going to bold my text. So let's save this and then let me show you what that looks like. So there we go. So now if we look at our design that we're going for, we kind of recreated something pretty similar. We haven't really styled it yet, so it wouldn't look as good, but I recreated basically this structure right here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and then style this container right here so that it looks a little prettier. So we are going to go to styles.css and then start styling. The first thing we are going to style is our container. So the first thing I would like to add is the max width so that these texts don't span all the way and that we have some padding on the side. And then I'm also just going to go ahead and then add a padding as well. So for my side paddings, I am doing viewport width, which is going to be based on how big my viewport width here is. So let's refresh that and see what that looks like. So see, now I have my padding, my top padding right here, 60 pixel, and then also my side padding, which is going to depend on how big my viewport width is, as well as this container right here can't get bigger than 1200 pixels. So this is what we have so far. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the body, which is pretty much this whole thing, and just kind of set up the color a little bit. So body, obviously I want my background color to be white. It's already white, but I'm just going to go ahead and add it in. And then I want my text color to be slightly lighter, so not completely black. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that as well. The next thing I'm going to work on is styling these texts. If you do your design in Figma, one easy way to do this is if you go to click on whichever text you have, go to Figma Dev Mode. You can always copy these information right here, but since for my Figma design I just kind of did like a rough draft, so I'm just gonna go ahead and code this myself. So H1 font size is going to be 1.5 rem, which I think is the equivalent of 24 pixels, and font weight is going to be around 500, which is going to bold it a little bit. So let's refresh that and take a look. There we go. Okay, that looks a little weird right now, but I'm going to be changing the font later, so hopefully the font weight will show up a little better once I change the font. And then I'm just gonna add a little margin to this so that it has a little bottom margin right here. Then I'm gonna go ahead and style my body paragraph as well. Again, font size is going to be classic 1 rem, which is equal to 16 pixel. And then font weight, I just want mine to be pretty light, so I'll just do 50. This doesn't really show up that well right now, and it's because I haven't installed the font that I want yet, but I will get to it. Anyway, I'd encourage you to play around with the font weight and font size to kind of see how it looks. So for example, if we do 3 rem here, then it's gonna be huge. The other thing that is missing is, you know how I was adding these strong tags, so I will also have to style that as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and then say strong and then add like a different font weight for my strong text. Same with my body paragraph. Another thing I'm going to do is add some bottom margin to this intro container right here. So we are going to go to intro. There we go. To add like a little bit more breathing room there. I am also going to go ahead and adjust my line height a little bit to give a little bit more breathing room in my body paragraph. I would also like to add a little bit more margin to this container right here as well. So I believe that one is called feature. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to add the divider line, which is like this one right here. So now we have a structure that is pretty similar to this. So now that we have the header and the divider, the next thing I'm going to work on is the project display. So I'm going to start by adding a div class called project. So in project, I'm going to add another class called project header. And this is going to be this container right here, project header, which is going to contain our project name and our project type. So within project header, I am going to go ahead and add the project title, which for the first one is going to be study soda. So I'm just saying study soda. If I save this, I should see my project title. And I'm also going to go ahead and then add a project tag as well. And now let's just go ahead and then style the project div block and the header a little bit so that we can have the project name right here and then the project type right here. So what this means is just I would like all the items within my project container to stack on top of each other. So if you see this right here, you can see that I have my project header, I have my project description, and then I have my project image, and I want all these to stack on top of each other like this. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and style the project header, and this is this container right here. So for example, if you would like to use Figma Dev Mode, what you can do is just open your design file, click on the element that you would like the CSS code. In this case, mine is the project header, and you can just go ahead and copy and paste it. There we go. So let's make another div block and then add our project description. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and style my text. So this project header, project title right here, and also the project types. So again, I'm going to go back to my style.css. There we go. So now I have a pretty good structure of my project display. I have my project title, my project type, and then like a project description. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add my project image, which in this case is actually a video called project images. And because I would like this to be clickable, I am going to go ahead and then add what's called a data link, which then I can add whichever link I want. In this case, I would like to just link it to my Instagram video. And we're going to work on this in script.js in a little bit, so we'll get back to it. But I would like to just go ahead and work on this part right here first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a video class. And then add my video source, which then I will need to add my video to my assets folder. So I'm just going to go ahead and then drag my video into my asset folder and then just type the name. I would also like to add a class for all the videos so it's easier to style all of them. I'm just going to call it project image. And then I'm going to have everything autoplay and loop. Mute it. So let's give this a try. So as you can see now my video is up, but it's not styled properly, so it's just bleeding all over. So let's go to our style.css to work on the styling. And there we go. So now I have this video in my project container and it's looping, it's auto playing. If you click on it, nothing happens yet because we haven't worked on our JavaScript code yet, but it's looking good so far. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and work on the responsiveness. So right now it is pretty responsive, but I think we can tweak the mobile version a little bit. For example, I would like this padding right here to be a little less, so let's work on that. So now we have pretty much the whole structure of our portfolio template. It's pretty simple and clean, but I want to keep it that way because I want the content and preview of my projects to shine. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to change the font because this really bothers me that the font weight is not showing up properly. Alright, the next thing I'm going to work on is the JavaScript code. This is not a very JavaScript heavy project, but there are some things that I would like to add to the JavaScript code. The first one is to just make the page scroll a little smoother, and then the second one is to make all these like videos clickable to whichever link I want. So let's get started. I like to add this mainly just for debugging. And then I'm going to add a function to make the scroll a little smoother. And then I'm just going to add another function to make these videos clickable. And if you remember, we added the data link right here. So now if I click on this, it should open the link that I put right here. So one thing I want to talk about super quickly is how I export my video to make sure it's small enough so that it doesn't take forever to load on my website. So I use CapCut. I like the 4:3 aspect ratio, but honestly you can kind of pick and choose whichever one you like. What I did was basically I just laid the screen recording on top of like a white background, and then I try to keep everything under like 6 seconds or not too long so the file doesn't get too big and it doesn't take forever to load once you open your website. Once everything is ready, I just go ahead and select file and export. This is pretty much my export setting. I like to use 1080, not too small, not too big. I make sure my bitrate is lower, and then make sure my format is MP4. And I also like to drop my frame rate to about 30. That way the file size doesn't get too big, and then I just go ahead and export everything. So now I already have a template set up as well as all the assets ready. So what I need to do is to just populate my portfolio with my other projects. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and import all of these into my assets folder. So I am just going to drag and drop them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my HTML and then just go ahead and copy and paste this project div block right here. And then I'm just going to change the title. And if I save this and refresh this, I should see my Ectomer project up here. So what I have left to do is honestly just populating my portfolio. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So one last thing I would like to do before I host my portfolio is to make some of these text clickable. For example, I would like it so that if people click on a salary, then they go to my Instagram, or if they click on GitHub, then they go to my GitHub, for example. And the way I can do this is to edit my index.html a little bit. So for example, I'm going to try to make that salary right here clickable. I'm going to delete it, and then I'm going to put an A tag around it. So put an A tag, put a link. And then in here, I can add salary. I'm also just gonna add like a strong tag as well. So let's try that. So now this is clickable. I don't like the styling of this. So again, I'm just gonna go back to style.css to work on the styling. So let's save and try that, and there we go. So now if you hover on it, it underlines it but doesn't change color, and it opens my Instagram. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make a lot of these texts clickable, and then I think we're good to go. And there we go. If you click on GitHub, then it should go to my GitHub. So one last thing I would like to talk about is how to host your portfolio website online. So let's say you're done with your portfolio code and you're ready to put this up online. So what I like to use is Netlify. It's free, it's pretty simple to set up, and as long as you don't have like a crazy number of website visitors and your website is not like extremely big, then it's completely free. I have used it for a lot of my personal projects. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and say add new project. So if you use something like GitHub or GitLab or some sort of version control, you can go ahead and choose import an existing project, and it will kind of let you connect to your GitHub or whatever. In this case, I did everything locally on my computer, and I didn't really use GitHub because it was a tutorial project. So I'm going to choose deploy manually, and once I see this page right here, you can either drag and drop to your project folder or you can browse. So I'm just gonna open mine, which is this one right here, portfolio tutorial, upload, and just wait. And that's it. So now my website is live and anyone can come in and see it. If you bought like a domain name and you would like to add it, you can go to domain management. And if you make any updates to your project, you can always like drag and drop it again. It's a little different if you use GitHub. I think it just automatically connects to your GitHub. And if you make any push on your GitHub, then it will just automatically update it. And that's pretty much it. This is how you host your portfolio website. You can now share your site with anyone. And we're done. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you find it helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.